Hi, I'm Todd Henderson. Today we're going to install the Bedrug Complete Bedliner on this 2016 Toyota Tacoma with a 5-foot bed. Let's go ahead and get started. So what we're going to do is we're going to start off by laying both parts, both your main components down on the ground. We've got the floor and tailgate portion here. We've got the sidewalls and bulkhead portion all in one piece here. Now it's best to make sure that this has been laid out flat for a little while. It's a lot more easy to manage. Otherwise it's all rolled up and it doesn't want to cooperate with you. So what I do is I lay it out typically in the sun, put the box on top of it and leave it there for a little bit and we'll be good to go. What we're going to do is we're going to zip the two pieces together. If you notice on the passenger side towards the very rear, you're going to have a zipper. What I'll typically do is roll it to the side, and we can take and insert the zipper portion, get that in, and then we can start zipping that up. Easiest way is to keep the two pieces of zipper lined up together as you're going. All right, next thing we're going to do is get inside the bed of the truck and remove these frame panels. That requires taking out these 6 Torx head bolts. Now we're going to use a T30 to take those out, and we'll retain those so we can reinstall them. We'll do that on both sides. All right, we're also going to want to go up to the front and remove the galvanized tie-down hooks that we have in here. Now, you can also just make slits in the bed rug and slide it over top, or if you just want a cleaner look, like what I like to do, is pull it out. You're going to use a T40. Remove those from both sides. So now what we're going to do is we're going to make sure we can see exactly where our Velcro strip is going to attach to the bed of the truck. We're going to clean that off thoroughly with some rubbing alcohol. Then we're going to attach our long red strip to the actual Velcro on the back of the bed rug. We're going to pull the backing off the tape and then lay it right down onto that ridge. All right, now what we've done is we've brought down our bulkhead piece. You'll notice we've got a Velcro strip stitched into the bottom as well as up into the top. So what we're going to do, we're going to be lining up some of our 2-inch strips of Velcro down here to where we can adhere it to the bulkhead itself. Any place that we're going to attach these Velcro strips, we're going to want to go where it attaches and clean that off thoroughly with alcohol. We're going to do initially 5 down at the bottom. We're going to pull the backing off of each one of the pieces of the 2-inch Velcro. Now, as we hold the bottom of the bed rug to the floor of the bed of the truck, we're going to rotate these up to where the Velcro adhesive meets the bulkhead. Okay, now your instructions are going to show you to use the black backed tape Velcro along the top. I usually like to save that for another portion, make the other part of the bed look nice and clean, especially if I'm going to have a tonneau cover on top of this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with a center. I'm going to line up our 2-inch pieces, and then every other one of these rows, I'm going to attach a 2-inch strip of Velcro. I'm going to start with the center. and work my way to the sides. All right, next what we're going to do is we're going to attach our sidewall. So I'm going to start at the back bend. Now we've got a tie down attached to the bed down here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to pull this back, make sure this tie down is faced towards the inside of the bed. I'm going to drop this inside, and we've got a little half moon cutout. We're going to bring that back and set that underneath the tie down. So what we're going to do is we're going to pull this out. I'm going to turn it sideways so that it can go through the hole. And now what we're going to do is we're going to bear down on the bed rug itself to where we can see all of our holes line up. Once those are lined up, we can set this back into place and put our T30 Torx bolts back through. We're going to get them, all those torque bolts, started before we tighten any of them down. Now putting these back in, what we're going to use is a ratchet instead of an impact driver. That way we're very careful not to put too much torque to these going back in. All right, next what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and attach the sidewall to the bed of the truck. The way we're going to do that is we're going to make sure that everything's fit nice and snug up against there. And first thing I like to do is go back up to where our tie-down hook was. Now if we fold that back, we're going to see the two spots where our bolts go through. We're going to take a razor knife, and as we're bearing down to make sure everything's going to line up properly and fit into the bed of the truck, we're going to mark through the backside with a razor blade. Where those bolts go through. We'll fit our bolts through. Push them right through the slits we just made. I'm going to tighten that down with a ratchet. Attach one of our 2-inch pieces of Velcro. Next what we're going to do is we're going to place Velcro, 2-inch strips of Velcro on the back side of the bed rug, right where the Velcro strips are. Just place them evenly and get them placed up against the sidewall of the bed. Now I like to work from the bottom up, so I'm going to first release the bottom Velcro pieces. Now as I line these up, I'm also going to bear down below to make sure these don't attach too high up on the bed of the truck. Now we're going to repeat the same process on the opposite side. And this is where we're going to use the piece that the instructions tell us to use, the bulkhead. But this just makes such a clean install back here. This is where I like to use it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to attach the Velcro right along here. When I get here, I'm going to go ahead and cut that with a pair of scissors. Now if you notice, there's a little clear strip up at the top. I like to heat that to the top side. That helps to release whenever I need to pull that away. I'm just going to continue that Velcro down to here. And once that's in place, what we want to do before we adhere it is press up into the corners to get it to where it's going to fit properly. And then bring it around and bear down on it, just like so. We're going to repeat that same process on the opposite side as well. All right, now this is a 2016 Tacoma, and so one thing that we notice is the bolt pattern for the tailgate piece has changed. Now, the bed rug is going to slide underneath the tailgate cap, and it's going to line up to each one of the bolts. But because we've got bolts here and here that don't have holes, what we need to do is we need to mark those and cut them out so that our spacers and all that can line up to it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these holes here, line them up over top of the bolts they coordinate with, make sure everything's nice and straight. And then once I've done that, I'm going to raise up, find out where the bolts are. I'm going to bear down really hard. And then lift that up, and I can see exactly where I need to cut out those holes. Next, what we're going to do is roll this back, and we're going to remove the T30 Torx bolts that hold in the tailgate cap, but we're not going to remove the tailgate cap. Now, it's okay to take this out with an impact driver, but I encourage you not to put them back in with an impact driver because the fillets that hold these in are plastic, and you can strip them out extremely easily. Next, what we're going to do is we're going to take 5 of our 2-inch strips, and we're going to place them evenly on the bottom piece of Velcro at the base of the tailgate. Now, one thing we want to do is we want to make sure they line up with the high points on the tailgate, not with the valleys. Now we're going to rotate this back and push these where they're lined up to the bolts to see where we're going to need to wipe down with alcohol. And that's going to be right at the base here. Now this step can be a little bit tricky, so what we're going to want to do is we're going to kind of stretch that out, let this fall this way, and then line up to where our bolts are going to go through to make sure everything's nice and straight when we adhere the Velcro. Next, we're going to take our spacers. We're going to insert them into the bed rug. Now we're going to lift up the edge of the tailgate cap. We're going to allow the bed rug to slide in behind the tailgate cap. Now with the spacers in place, we're going to go ahead and get the screws, the Torx screws, started back into place. We're going to line up each one of them before we tighten any of them down. We're going to go ahead and tighten down the screws just until they get nice and snug. Remember, like I said, it's very easy to strip these out, so we want to be very careful not to do that. Well, that concludes the installation. If you have any questions, call the experts. We're here to help you out.